All right, everyone, welcome to Unit 2 of English 1302. This unit is about gender. So if you look at the dates right here, you'll see when the unit starts as well as when it ends, which is when you need to have everything submitted. Now, your dates, as always, might be different than mine, so just make sure you're paying attention. Now, just as a reminder, because we're starting Unit 2, you should have already finished your discussions. One was the introduction discussion board post where you tell me a little bit about yourself and also respond to one of your classmates. That's worth 10 points, so make sure that you've done that if you haven't already. And the other discussion board was the discussion over Puppy by George Saunders, which also includes an initial post and a comment. So please make sure that you've done those if you have not. That way you can get caught up with all of your points. Okay, Unit 2, I'm gonna go ahead and click on Gender Intro. All right, so for this unit, we're not going to shy away from controversy at all, nor from original nor unique thoughts. So this time around, we're going to focus on gender and how it functions within our society and how it creates different types of social identities. And we're going to do this by examining a text. It's a letter from novelist Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, and it's called Dear IGOL, or A Feminist Manifesto in 15 Suggestions. Now, like I said here, just take a breath. Relax. I know that I use the F word. For some reason, people lose their minds whenever that word feminist is thrown out. Just relax. This is one of the primary things that Adichie actually addresses in her letter. Now, she understands that the connotation of feminism is bad. It is. Or at least culturally, it can often have a very negative connotation. And I think what she's doing here is that she's seeking to repair the cultural understanding of what it means to be a feminist. All right, so as you're examining all the texts and resources this week, I want you to think about how you specifically interpret the word feminism. What do you think about it? How do you interpret that word? What are the associations and connotations that you have with it? Now, does Adichie's brand of feminism, the one that she's presenting here in this letter, does it match your understanding of the concept? Why or why not? Okay? And if it doesn't, what does that mean? What do you think of this brand of feminism that Adichie is talking about? All right? And that's what your discussion board post is going to be over, and we'll address that here in just a second. You're also going to watch a film. It says Great Gerwig. That's a typo. I'll fix that. It's Greta Gerwig. So you're going to watch Greta Gerwig's film Little Women, and you're going to respond to it for your first full-length paper. Essentially, you're going to address the argument that Gerwig makes through the film and will respond to it with your own unique opinions. Now, make sure you thoroughly read the assignment directions and rubric before you begin, and I'll show you that here in just a second. So if you need help, please make sure to contact me, email me, come hang out in Google Hangouts, all that stuff. So here is a brief schedule that you can follow based off of your class. There's Miss Piggy. Any Miss Piggy fans? How can you not like Miss Piggy? Okay, I'm going to click next. So Crash Course Gender. So just like last unit, there's 3 really short videos that are going to give you more of a broad understanding of the idea of what it means to discuss these issues of gender. Okay? So make sure you're checking those out. Okay, so here's your discussion board posts. So after thoroughly exploring all this week's text and resources, think critically about all the information you've absorbed and craft a detailed, planned response to the reading. Make sure to answer the guiding question using quoted text evidence. Use text evidence and specific concrete examples. If it helps, feel free to use the template below in order to flex those writing muscles. Okay, and let's go over this real quick. So in Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's letter, Dear IGOL, she argues that blank. What is she arguing here? What do you think? She makes this clear in her examples of blank and blank. Now you're going to have a ton of different examples in this letter. However, I want you to choose the 2 that are the most potent to you. And also when she says blank, and give me a really good quote here when referring to blank. That'll give the reader some context as to what you're talking about. So when she makes that quote, what is she talking about specifically? She also argues that, another example for a quote, because her experience of blank, of what? Justifies her belief. In sum, the letter demonstrates Adichie's conviction that feminism, what is she saying about feminism here? What's the larger argument that she's making? In my own opinion of her argument, I think feminism, what? What do you think about feminism? Because, and there should be a blank right there as well. I'll fix that. I can primarily see this in my experiences through, and be specific here. Don't say my experiences of sexism, of bad things, right? Be specific. You don't have to like give me a Dear Diary entry, but can you specifically give me an anecdote or a story, some sort of thing that actually connects you to the issue? Okay? Adichie's version of feminism is or is not how I perceive feminism, and it makes me think that, like, okay, so once again, please make sure you understand what I'm looking for. You got to respond to the argument of a peer by assessing what it is that they think. Give your opinion of your peer's argument. Give me specific real-world examples that support your opinion in response to your peer's argument. Make sure that you've given me significant effort. You proofread everything, that you're within the word count and probably beyond, right? Probably beyond, that's just the minimum. And that you have a deep understanding of the text. Okay? And then once you make that initial post, you'll start seeing your classmates respond right there. Okay, so here is your paper. Are you ready? Are you ready? Okay, so Unit 2 paper, Gender and Little Women. Directions, watch Little Women. There's a link right there. Just clickety-clack on it, and it'll open up and you can watch it. After that, I want you to think, what argument is the director, Greta Gerwig, making through the film? What argument is she making? What is your response to Gerwig's argument? Do you agree? Disagree? Would you qualify her argument? Meaning, would you take some things about it and change it? And why do you think this way? What in your own personal experience has led you to these positions? Okay, those are just what you're thinking about as you're watching the film. Now, write. After exploring all of the assigned resources for the unit, compose a thesis statement that answers the following prompt. Here it is. This is the question that you must answer for the essay. What does Greta Gerwig's Little Women argue about the nature of gender? Okay? What is the nature of gender? Now, something I want to point out is that oftentimes students can have a little bit of difficulty distinguishing between content of a film and the argument that is being made. So, in the film, are there examples of sexism? Yes, absolutely. Does that make the film sexist? No, it does not. And the reason why is because including the content of sexism is often used to critique a sexist worldview. So please do not get those two mixed up. The film itself, I would argue, is not sexist. You may disagree with me, and that's fine. But understand that including content that is sexist does not make the film sexist, because it is critiquing that view, meaning it's saying this is bad. Okay? So keep that in mind. All right. So when you're answering that question, you got to compose a 1,500 to 2,000 word paper that explores the film and answers the prompt using quotes from the film, specific references to scenes, and an analysis that connects the examples to your overall argument, meaning that you probably need to jot down notes as you're watching the film and write out quotes. If something sticks out to you and you're thinking, I've got to use that quote in my paper, pause it, rewind it, and write it down word for word, okay? So respond to the ideas and arguments of the text with your own ideas. Do you agree or disagree? Why or why not? Now, it may help to make this portion of the essay your conclusion. So essentially, your paper would be analyzing the argument that the film is making about gender, and then your conclusion is responding to that argument. What do you think? Do you agree, disagree? Why or why not? Once again, be as specific as possible using concrete examples and real-world experiences. You must use at least 3 quotes from your chosen text, and use quotes from at least 3 outside sources to support your argument that you have gathered from TCC's databases. It may be helpful to search for biographical information on Greta Gerwig, critical evaluations, or reviews of the film, or feminism in general. Now, if I just said TCC databases and your brain exploded, don't worry. If you go on the modules page and look at resources and go to the Heaton Helps links, there's a whole video that I give you about how to use the TCC databases, and I've also already sent it, or I will be sending it to you this unit. Okay? Don't panic. It's not as hard as it sounds. Format. Make sure your paper is in MLA format with correct in-text citations and a proper works cited page. I'm also going to send out a video about how to do that as well. Okay? Sound good? And this is where you will submit it. So you'll click Start Assignment, and then you'll upload the file there. Sound good? All right. And that is, okay, one more thing. This is the essay grading rubric, and I'll kind of let you look this over. I've color-coded it, which might seem a little weird and overwhelming. Don't panic. So many students will ask me how I do grading, and this is how I grade discussion board posts too, really. What I did with the color coding is you can see the differences between the different types of paper. So, for example, let's look at the A paper. The A paper goes above and beyond what is expected of the writing prompt. And the writing prompt are all those directions that I just gave you. Now let's look at something like the C paper. The C paper seeks to meet the expectations of the writing prompt, but falls short in doing so. So you can already see the difference there. In the A paper, the argument is meaningful and the writing style is enjoyable. In the C paper, the argument is sound. Okay? Go back to the A paper. As you would expect, the outstanding paper is well organized, well supported, and carefully documented. What about the C paper? The C paper, support is often weak or lacking. Okay? The A paper. This paper leaves the reader satisfied with the writer's argument and eager to reread the paper. What about the C paper? Paper is at times difficult to follow because the reader must stop and think about the reasoning process the writer seeks to convey. This paper often leaves the reader questioning the writer's argument and wanting to better understand why the writer chose this angle as opposed to a different one. And lastly, the one that students get so worked up about, if you look at the A paper, this paper, because of the enjoyable writing style, has very few grammatical syntax and MLA errors that distract the reader. When it comes to grammar, the primary thing that I'm looking for is just that I'm not distracted. I want to focus on the content that you have given me and not on capitalization, commas, things like that. I'm not hunting for grammatical errors. I'm really not. The only time that I might make a note on that on your paper is if it starts to get distracting. And this can be with really simple things like not capitalizing the beginning of sentences, not capitalizing the word I, not capitalizing names, forgetting punctuation. Whenever it becomes distracting, that's when your grade starts to go down a little bit. So just make sure that it's not distracting. And you'll see the B paper has few grammatical errors, syntactical errors. The C paper may have them. The D paper is marred with them. And same thing with the F paper, marred with grammatical, syntax, and MLA errors that distract the reader. Okay? And for the F paper, it just doesn't meet the expectations of the writing prompt. There's little or no support. The argument is not there at all. It's incomprehensible. And oftentimes it's plagiarized, right? Okay. So that's pretty much what's going on with the grading rubric. I'll let you look that over more intensely at your own perusal, and that is pretty much everything. I think it's everything for this week. Let's double check. Will that take me to Unit 3? Yeah, it's race. Don't look at race yet. We'll get to that. We'll get to that soon. Okay, so that's everything for this module. If you're encountering difficulties with things that are going on, or you feel like you don't have enough access to things that'll help you, so look at resources. The Academic Learning Center is all the wonderful people in the library that you can send your writing to, and they can help you out. Make sure that you give them a long enough time where they can get back to you. Don't give them your paper the day it's due or the day before, right? Helpful links. This will take you to different things like Al Purdue for help with MLA. Crash Course Composition is a bunch of great videos that can help you with pre-writing, paragraph building, stuff like that. Heat and Help videos, these are the videos that I'm sending you throughout the course, but also they're collected all together. So if you need help with MLA from my perspective or the databases, click there and that'll help you out. Okay, and then here's some other helpful documents that I'll be sending out throughout the course as well. Elements of an essay, outline and guide in composing a paper. It's just a graphic organizer to help you write using the databases. Heat and Help clips, another link for it, templates, Google Hangouts, all that good stuff. Okay? All right, you're going to crush it. Please contact me if you need any help, and have a great unit.